Welcome to Onwriting with Onkarabile, a show that aims to promote reading and writing in the communities. We seek to restore pride and dignity of Africans through the power of reading and writing. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Onkarabile Mokoto and I am your host. Please don't forget to subscribe, to share online as we are embarking on our conversations with another esteemed guest, Mr. Tshepho Mojapelo, who is a street bookworm, and we are gonna unpack what is really a street bookworm. Thank you so much, Mr. Tshepho, for coming onto our show.
Oh, thanks for having me. The bookworm himself,
Yes.
street bookworm, is in the house.
Yes. And I can see, you're having a book. You're coming with a book all the way from Pretoria to Soweto. It shows that you are really living what you are identifying yourself as.
Yes, of course. I'm always, plying my trade. I'm true to myself. So I don't only self-identify as a street bookworm, but then I practice what I preach.
Yes, that's great. That's great. But let's start, Mr. Tshepho, by explaining, where do you get this word street bookworm? Because when you talk about the bookworm, rona re itse ile motho ole, o tsenya di specs jalo ka wena. Ko sekolong a ditse a le one, a sena di chomi ko ntlung motho ona ha tsamaye haholo, re tseba bookworm ile motho jalo. But when you come and say there is what we call street bookworm, please take us through.
Yeah, I think it has to do with my personal journey, my reading personal journey. I was born and bred in the village, and of course there's this mentality that it is not actually limited to the village, but then it's a very broad view, that reading it's for people are not normal. People will say reading will make you crazy and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I've been in the closet, so to speak. So I was a closet bookworm all along, So there came a point where I felt like I needed to go out there, I think it also had to do with my activism, So I became an activist, and then I wanted to change society. I wanted to impact society through reading, and I realized that it won't work if I'm doing it in private, if I'm reading, in the closet, So I feel that bookworms who are more like under arrest, under house arrest, and I think we are programmed to see reading as a private activity. So I wanted to also encourage other bookworms to be out there, They say readers are leaders, but if you are a leader, you should be out there in the public. People should show you, should see you and follow you. So how are people going to follow us as readers if we are reading in private? If we shy away from the public space, So,
And like you say, do you believe or discovered or realized that a lot of people really don't read well in public? Like reading in public well is not something that you can see, Rather you can have someone having a bottle of beer, a bottle of alcohol, but someone having a book, it's something that, we are not used to. So when you came up with that, what inspired you? Is it only the issue of saying readers are leaders, or is other things that actually inspired you?
Yeah, I think there was one day when I was in Sentin, so I was still working there, and I met this other white guy. He was reading while walking, and I went up to him and I said, you know what, if you do that in a township, people will say you are crazy, you're going to make a scene out of that.
Yes.
And I felt like maybe I need to do something myself, in the communities where I'm based, So I think, that's one incident that, actually inspired me to break out of the shell, or that shell of shyness, So, and also to blow the myth that bookworms are antisocial. So I think it's social conditioning. We are conditioned to be private about our reading lives and whatnot. And also the story of
Yes.
The pavement book.
Take us through that story.
I think what actually went, I think he was working and he lost everything. And so he literally was thrown out into the streets. And he only had a bag full of books and some blankets. And he used the books. He actually used to sell book reviews. And then if they would like the book review, they will buy the book as well. So for me, I think people who are homeless, they don't follow the script, the social script of, how to behave.
Yes,
Yeah. So they are free. They are free thinkers. They do as they please. So, and Philani Dlala is not the only, I would say, homeless bookworm that I encountered. There was another one in Pretoria. He was also there reading, outside. So he was also a free thinker. Like, he has nothing. Yeah, he doesn't have to. Like I said, he doesn't have to follow the script of what we've been conditioned. So, yeah. So on my part, I think the activism in me, also, contributed towards making me, a street bookworm or public bookworm.
So, since you started this journey, have you seen some effects? Have you seen, some people maybe being influenced, being inspired?
Yeah. So I once stayed in Calfontein. So that's when my street bookworm journey, took shape, so to speak. So at the time, it was during COVID. I was working, and then the contract ended. So there was nothing to do. So and then I felt, I would say I felt not comfortable, reading inside the room all day long. So I had to. It was a way of being out there, like not being locked in a room and stressing. I mean, being depressed and all that. So it was a way of distressing for myself on my part, And then from there, I wanted to have a book club, So yeah, I think at the time we had something. I would call it street corner book club because I was literally reading on the street corner. Yeah. So I was more of a street corner bookworm.
Yeah.
Calfontein, and then we had Calfontein book club. So at the time, I realized that the normal book club wouldn't work. So I used my bookshelf, to as sort of informal library. So I used to borrow people books at the time, So I think I impacted a lot of people. Yeah, more than 4 or 5 people that I borrowed my books and whatnot.
And I love your concept, Mr. Tshepho, because now it comes to my mind. I mean, I've seen there's these charismatic churches, they have these programs where they go to streets and they will preach, the word of God to people to hear in the street. They will not be in a building or maybe in a tent. Sometimes they just decide that, no, you know what, next week, Saturday, they call it outreach.
Yeah.
They will go out and they will just, maybe be on a street and maybe just ask a certain house just to connect some electricity so that they can have the speakers and the mics, but they will be speaking on the street. People are passing by, but they will be preaching, So I like this concept of even reading, public reading that, is also a good thing to do. If other people can do it on doing other things, then why not when it comes to the reading the book? So you are doing a very good job. Now I want you to maybe explain to us, or rather maybe our audience, our viewers, they need to know that when I met you, I think now you've graduated, you were a university student, like you said, that if people can see you in a street, they will think this guy is crazy. So people need to know that you are a graduate. I think you graduated, right? You can correct me there.
Yeah,
recently.
Just graduated,
and you at that time you were doing that, you were at university. Yes. So people must know that this person is crazy. They must know that, no, I'm talking to an academic person here. So tell me about your university life.
Yeah.
At campus, were you doing the same thing?
Yes, actually I used to identify myself as the campus bookworm. So wherever I go, I try to look at the situation. Like if I'm in a township, I think the concept of a street bookworm is gonna work, because in a township we have a strong street culture or street corner culture.
Yes,
so when you're at university, it's a different take. And actually initiated a book club last year. So I didn't want to read alone and whatnot. So yeah, I initiated a book club, TT book club, and we invited authors. We had Takalani M, Mtetonyati, and whatnot. And it's still running, you know. It's just that this year I stepped down because I was grooming someone to lead the book club, and she's leading the book club.
Oh, nice, nice.
So yeah, so I, even at university, I was, you know, doing what I do, you know. So I identify myself as a reading activist, you know. So yeah, and another thing at varsity, I used to actually walk into the exam, you know, with a book. So yeah, and that was a book that was completely unrelated to what I was doing, you know, because I was studying electrical engineering, and it's very, I'm more of like reading is part of the humanities, you know. So I'm more intellectually inclined. So engineering is more, it's not, according to me, it's not meant to produce intellectuals, you know. It was just meant to produce, you know, technicians or technocrats, you know. Actually, the sciences, you know. So I was trying to move from STEM to STEAM, you know. So STEM is the acronym for science, technology, math, and whatnot, and engineering. So STEAM has the arts, you know. You incorporate the arts there in the sciences, and you know. So yeah.
So tell me about the challenges that you faced since you started this. You know, I'm thinking of when you're doing something that is unusual.
Yeah.
You know, you'll get those people who look at you and say, and then what is wrong with this person? You know, so tell me about those type of people. Have you met those type of people maybe when you're in campus at the corner or in the street, and people will just say, they will look at you like you are crazy, like we have said earlier?
Yeah. Okay, I think it has to start from within. So you have to be your first critique and whatnot. So I had to be comfortable doing it myself. And I'm telling you, it was not easy. It was gradual. You know, so during COVID, there was this thing called the new normal. So for me, it was the new normal. You know, reading out loud. I would call it reading out loud.
Yeah.
So when I was still in Calfontaine Township, there's a guy who actually joined me, and then they used to say to him, why are you joining that crazy guy? You're going to end up being like him.
Yeah.
And some people tell me to, you know, get a room, man. Like, why are you doing that in public? You know? So it was like I was committing a crime, or you know, it was like you know, showing what they, I think it's called public display of affection and stuff like that. So I used to say, as an activist, I used to tell myself, if people are doing public display of affection, actually they should get their room, not me.
Yeah.
You know, so if like public drinking is not allowed in South Africa, but
people are doing it
anyway.
You see,
then even reading is not that popular, so I had to do it anyway. You know, so
and that one not even crime.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not crime.
So if we don't own the streets are going to own us.
Yeah,
you know. So yeah, there are challenges, but then I think looking back, I'm not the only one. Actually, this concept of seeing bookworms as people who are not normal is not new. Even in Europe, if you watch the, I think it's a movie, but it's based on a book, Beauty and the Beast. So you see Belle in a village. She's in a village, and people are saying she's not well. So she's reading while walking. She's immersed in the book.
Yeah,
you know. So it's not a black thing. So people tend to say, no, it's a black thing. You know. It's yeah. So you need to historicize, you know, how people throughout, you know, since the invention of reading or writing, how people viewed reading, you know. So in Europe, there was a time where reading was public, and then it became silent and independent.
Mr. Tshepho, please, I want us to dwell more when you come from with that one of the one from the Europe, where it was public, then it became silent. Please, after break, I want us to just start with that one and just expand more on that one.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back shortly. Stay tuned. All right. I think complain.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think this one so.
If I can just put it to you.
Oh, yeah, like, common sense failed. Because I didn't want to, like,
Yeah. So,
Eish.
yeah,
I want to know.
but in the sharp sound, eh?
Yeah, she's.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it's going to be like this.
Welcome back to Onwriting with Onkarabile, a show that aims to promote reading and writing in the communities. We are still having Mr. Tshepho Mojapelo, a street bookworm, and he is sharing more on the issue of public reading. Let's talk about the issue of the European, where reading was public and then it became silent. Please take us through that.
Yeah, there is some historians says there was a time where actually reading was not a private affair. It was public, and then people started reading silently and independently. I think that's how maybe reading, people started to see reading as something that is antisocial, because it's becoming individualistic. So you're just there alone with the book and whatnot. So I think I wanted to, because like in Africa we have a concept of Ubuntu. So Ubuntu is very communal, it promotes socialism, but then not the ideological socialism, but then just, togetherness. So according to our Ubuntu philosophy, private, I would say, okay, I wanted to align my reading life with the philosophy of Ubuntu, which is communal. Hence, I'm more of a reading social activist. So as a street bookworm, you are out there in the public. Even though I'm reading alone, but it became a social activity. People started commenting on you. They want to know what you are reading and whatnot. And also, if I may touch to that as well, I don't always get negative comments. So some people would encourage me to read on, or they would want to see what I'm reading and then ask me to borrow them books and whatnot.
So far it has been really an inspirational journey even for you. It has really...
It has. And also I would say, even though people, like, access is not enough, because in Calfotain there's a library, but then people didn't want to go to the library. They wanted me to be their personal library. Even though I would tell you, no, dude, you can go and get the book from the library.
Yeah.
No, I want to get it from you.
Yeah.
So that's where the Ubuntu part comes in.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think we need to rethink reading. If we want to build a reading nation, we need to apply our philosophy of Ubuntu. On how we can make South Africa a reading nation.
And you spoke about the issue of being activist like yourself. That's one of the things that actually inspired you. And nowadays we are living in a world where people will ask what's in for me. Being in the street, reading the street just with a book, someone will ask, I can't just do this. What am I getting out of this? So for you, what's in for you?
Yeah. Okay. Personally, I'm very intellectual, so it's also identity formation for me. So as a street bookworm, public bookworm, it means I'm a public intellectual. It's making me a public intellectual. So I'm open about my identity as an intellectual.
Yeah.
And I don't have to say anything. So if you see me reading, you will think that that's maybe that person knows A and B, or I'm a Mr. Know-it-all or something like that. So personally, it was about identity formation, making myself known out there, without, talking, So also as a reading activist, I think we shouldn't outsource everything to the government. So I'm concerned about the lack of reading culture in the country. So it's my way of contributing towards making South Africa a reading nation. So we can't do it on TV or talking about that. We need to go where the people are. The people are on the ground. We need to be on the ground and talk to the people there, So for me, it gives me fulfillment, as an activist, as a leader, and then as an intellectualist, it's actually self-actualization. So I'm self-actualizing as an intellectual, because sometimes it goes beyond reading, because if like the conversations that we're going to have, when we are out there reading, are going to be very intellectual in nature, So I don't like small talk. So when I'm reading, obviously you wouldn't engage in small talk. We'll be discussing ideas, not people and events and whatnot.
And I mean, there's this thing that says, I'm thinking of the kids now, to say that, what do you think can be done to maybe encourage the kids to do what you are doing? Or when they grow up, they don't see reading in public as something that is unusual. What can be done? What do you think can be done?
Yeah, I think what we are doing now, we need to highlight public bookworms, street bookworms. I'm not the only one. I do from time to time encounter, street bookworms. I encounter people who are reading in public, like reading while walking. So I think we need to highlight those people, put them out there, so that they can serve as role models. So I think the problem in South Africa, the problem of reading, it's about highlighting bookworms. We don't highlight bookworms enough, or readers. That's why you will have people who are interested in reading, or they would give up their reading life because they don't see benefit. People see it as an antisocial behavior and whatnot. So we need to make them feel like they matter in society. So if you can use those as role models, then it's going to be the new normal for others.
And that brings a question in my mind, and also an idea to say, do you think even writers are not doing enough to portray their work in the street? Like, I know when you go to taxi ranks, sometimes you'll see someone selling books there, but before it was not there. And most of the time you won't really find an author maybe marketing or promoting his book there. Do you think somehow writers also, authors also, they need to take their books to the street? They need to sell their books to the street, maybe as part of joining you guys for public reading?
Yeah. I think, look at what Nick Mhlongo did. He studied creative writing, and he's one of our, best creative writers. But then he used to sell books, on the street, literally. So you need to swallow your pride. And it's also not about selling. When you are putting books out there, then it becomes a norm, even though we are not buying, some people are not buying, but then just people seeing, especially black authored books. Usually when you go to the streets, you see we are flooded with Western books, Western authored books, So I think, we need visibility on the ground, and marketing and whatnot. So the conventional, marketing, for as an author won't work in South Africa. Like I said, we have a strong street culture in South Africa. If you can penetrate that market, and I've seen on social media, I've seen a number of writers, taking that route, going on the street, going where the people are, I think, that's what we should be,
And
doing.
I mean, today we are talking about township economy. A lot of people are talking about township economy. And you're an author there, you are struggling to sell your books, whereas there is the concept called township economy. Like you say, people are in the street.
Yeah, people are in the streets. Yeah. And also, when talking about authors, it's, so you have genuine authors or talented authors, or authors who wanted to, especially if you write for nonfiction, there's something that you want to put out there, so you have a message for society and whatnot. So the problem is that you'd find that authors who are I wouldn't say, I don't want to say not real authors are the ones who are out there, you know, who are or celebrity authors, if I may, or yeah.
Yeah.
So then that creates a certain perception of what South African writing is, you know. So I have fellow, you know, bookworms on Instagram, and I would ask them, why are you not reading South African literature and whatnot? They will tell you, no, South Africans can't write and whatnot, you know. So yeah, I think we need diversity when it comes to the books that are out there, you know, in terms of, yeah. So yeah, that's what we need. We need to do in that space. We are not well organized, you know, as writers and readers. So there's a lot that needs to happen, and also we need to work together. You know, there has to be a cross-pollination of the arts. Authors can't do it alone. They need to work with musicians. You know, literature is a silent art form. You know, so it needs music. Yeah, you need theater. You need film. So some of the books that I've read is because of I've went to see the film, or I went to see the show and whatnot, and I came back to read the book. You know, books like The Color Purple by Alice Walker.
Yes.
I saw the play first, and I read the book after.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, theater can help people, can promote literature. You know, so yeah, that's my advice to authors. We need cross-pollination of the arts. We need to work together across the board.
You know, I remember during COVID, I used to work, you know, in a bookshop in a mall. But it was not really a book. It was not a bookshop.
Yeah.
It was sort of a stall, you know, just a stand, like inside the mall, but it's a stand. So it's not a shop. And people will pass by there. Okay, some will buy the books, and then when people ask, they were new books. You know, the owner makes sure that he gets new books, so they're not second-hand books. But when people comes there, they will want to get those books with a lower price. And then when we asked them, but they said, no, but this is not a bookshop.
Yeah.
You know, so people have that, you know, thing, the stereotype to say, because it's not, they are sort of in the street, or, you know, because people are passing
pricing,
by.
yeah.
Yes, pricing, you know. So now, and those are new. I mean, the same books that we were selling, they were selling at Exclusive Books.
Wow.
They were selling at P&A,
Yeah.
you know. But they don't mind to buy the same book with that certain price at the Exclusive, but when it comes to us, they will then want to get discounted. But it's the same book, you know. So you can see they want to negotiate, but you can see that they are just undermining because it's in the street, you know. So, like you say, it shows that we have a lot to do, you know, when it comes to the issue of public reading, you know. But I'm really glad that, you know, you are bringing this issue, and you really have other people who also have seen the light, or are seeing the light, you know, and are able to actually, you know, work together with you and say, no, let's promote this, you know. I want us to talk about, you know, you mentioned something like now you said about, you know, the real authors, and you said, no, I don't want to say not real authors. The statement that I've read, you know, in one of your status, and you said, people who are supposed to read are actually writers. You know, I saw that statement in your thing. What do you mean by saying that?
Yeah, for me, I think reading and writing are two sides of the same coin. So writers are readers. So there are people who haven't read enough, but then they want to write, and then they are messing up the industry for others. You know, because if I've read one or badly written book by a Black South African author, then I would start to generalize and think, you know, South Africans, you know, so I feel people should be, authors should be reading books, and also when you are promoting your books, also promote literature in general. There are authors who actually are not. Actually, they're not concerned about promoting literature. They're all about promoting their
books. Yeah.
You know. So I would say there's a fine line between an author and a writer. You know? So writing is an art form, and writers know that, you know, writers are readers.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So the thing is, if there's a trend, some people are going to follow the trend, and then, you know, and stuff like. So yeah, I feel that writers, authors should read more and write less. If we are to improve the craft of what we are having. Because South African reading public is not one thing. You have non-readers, you have first-time readers, you have matured readers, you have bookworms. So you have to know your target market. So if you go to Bookstagram, we call it Bookstagram, bookworms are into fine writing or creative writing. So they have read a lot. So they will know if you don't know your story. They can pick up a badly written book, So I think we should be reading more.
That features interviews with artists, showcases their work, challenges, and successes. Every Tuesday at 2 p.m. only on Share Radio. Tune in live on Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. This is Share Radio.
Welcome back to Onwriting with Onkarabile, a show that aims to promote reading and writing in the communities. We are still having Mr. Tshepho Mojapelo, a shrewd bookworm, and he is here to share more on public reading. Mr. Tshepho, one of the things that you said is that, you hate textbooks,
yes.
but you love books,
yes.
And someone is saying, I'm confused.
Yeah.
Please help us there.
Yeah, so in my mother tongue, there's no fine line, or there's no difference between reading and studying. So if you went to school, so it's like you are well read and whatnot. So for me, I would say textbooks are very didactic. It's like a master-slave kind of situation or relationship. So book is take it or leave it. Books are very liberal. So books have to do with studying, and then and books has to do with reading. So I love reading but hate studying. Yes, that's what I'm saying. I hate textbooks but love books.
Yeah. Because that one is sort of formal, the textbook sort of.
Yeah, and I think we are not reading enough. Remember, there was that incident about the lack of textbooks in Limpopo, but then no one talked about the lack of books. What about the lack of books in that school, or the lack of a library? So we don't centralize reading, in our society. We want to promote it, but we don't centralize it. And another problem that we have is that we have teachers who don't read. So how are you going to teach reading if you don't read yourself? So I think we are reproducing illiteracy in the classroom.
I wanted to ask that question of saying, do you think the education system is not doing enough? Because it's like now, like you say, because you are 100% correct. It's totally different to study and to read. Because at school, sometimes there is what in Twitter is called crema.
Yeah.
You are just reading or studying just to pass. And after you even passed what you have written, and someone ask you the concept or the content of what you have passed, sometimes you cannot even explain it. You don't know what you have passed.
Yes.
But when it comes to reading, like you say, it's take it or leave it. If you read like a book, I saw you having a book. What is the book that you're holding now?
Oh, it's Fools and Other Stories by Njabulu. Ndebele, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If I can ask you that, please, what are you reading now? Confidently, you are gonna explain to us what is it that you are reading about there. Simple. You're not gonna even struggle or remember. No, because it's something that you have done it passionately. So, but this one is like it's formal. You have been forced to do it because you have to pass. If you don't pass, you're gonna fail and those kind of stuff. So that is why I wanted to ask: do you think the education system is not doing enough? Really?
Yeah, and also not education system alone. Society, in general. So I don't want society to outsource everything to the government. So teachers, parents, civil society, everyone has to play their role. So if as a parent I'm not willing to read for my children, and then how do I expect the teacher to do it? So it has to begin from the home to the classroom, when you need to read at church and whatnot. So yeah, our education system is very textbook intensive. Yeah. So in a way, our education system is anti-reading, anti-intellectualism. Yeah. And we're talking about the fact that textbooks, you have to be tested on what we've learned and whatnot. So I was raised by oral literature, folk tales. My grandmother was my oral literature teacher. So the stories, she used to teach me stories, storytelling and whatnot. But then I was never examined on it. I was never tested on the stories. So I think, teaching to the test and whatnot, it's killing literature. We have English literature, in the schools. We did English literature. I think it did me. I was not interested in it because it was doing me. It is top down. Paul Freire, penned a book called Pedagogy of the Oppressed. So it's a banking system. It's a top-down system. You have to learn this if you need to pass.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's un-African. That's not. So if we are we need to decolonize reading.
Yeah.
We need to decolonize literature. So yeah. So reading for leisure. That's what I'm all about. Reading for enjoyment. Yeah.
If you have to give, if you can give advice, Mr. Tshepho, just a few advices, they can be drawn from what we have already spoken about. And someone is, we are about to finish our show now. Someone is really saying, okay, Mr. Tshepho, I've heard you, but just give me maybe tips on how can one promote reading in public.
Yeah. I think, let me talk about book clubs, the importance of book clubs, because I'm also a product of book clubs. Book clubs, they go out there, maybe they choose a sport in a mall. So that's a way of reading in public, So I would say try to join a book club. And a book club it's not a hard thing. You can do a book club for two with your partner, or your child and whatnot, Start there. And also I would say do it gradually. If you want to be a public bookworm, do it gradually. It's going to be uncomfortable at first, but then you have to do gradually and whatnot. So yeah, I would like to see a reading revolution, but then we need to come out of the closet as bookworms. So follow other bookworms, street bookworms, and yeah. But then for book clubs, I think book clubs are the best for now, because we don't only promote reading, but then we buy books as well. And we invite authors, and it becomes more social. Yeah.
And let's talk lastly, Mr. Tshepho. One of the things that you spoke about, during the Gauteng festival that I met you on or at, you spoke about authors not capitalizing or maximizing the target market that is students.
Yeah.
And you said students, they are good market, but we just, as authors, Rona, we never really consider that.
Yeah.
Just shortly, please encourage authors.
Yeah. Remember, I had a book club at university. So I know the books that students are reading. Actually, some students actually do buy books. Is that we don't have a lot of students who are reading, but then we do have student readers, and they know their authors and whatnot. So I think writers are not. I think when they're writing, they don't have the students as in mind as a target market, as a reading public. Yeah, I think that's an untapped market, and also. Those are future middle class. Those are your future middle class. Middle class can afford to buy books. The middle class can afford to buy books. So yeah, I feel we should do something about the student reading public. How do you target that reading market? How do you so maybe we should be doing book launches, at university libraries and whatnot. Yeah.
No, Mr. Tshepho, say thank you so much. I think time is not on our side. I really wish that we could go more and more. But I believe we have learned a lot. From what you have said. It's an unusual topic when it comes to literature. This reading in public. And I think you are really, doing it very well, and I just wish that you continue. And I mean, we will really like to join you. You know, like we said that we need to partner together as writers and see, you know, how can we take it further. You know, but lastly, if people want to, you know, get hold of Mr. Tshepho, are you active on social media? Where can they get hold of you?
Yeah, I'm active on Instagram. As bookworms, we call it Bookstagram. This means I only post about books.
Okay.
I'm also available on Facebook. I go by the name of Tshepho Bibliophile Mojapelo. I also post bookish content. So I'm all books. And also, if you wanna follow me, look me on the streets. Sometime maybe you may bump into me, you know, reading a book.
And then please show us the book that, once again to the camera there, the book that you were holding. Maybe one can be able to, you know.
So this is the book that I'm reading now. It's part of the Staff Rider reading series, you know. So I'm not big on short stories, but then just because it's written by Noluthando and it's part of the Staff Rider reading series, then I had to read this. And this is my 70th book of the year.
Oh,
so
this year?
My reading target this year was to read 100 books.
Oh, no. Mr. Tshepho, thank you so much. People will get hold of you on social media to learn this secret. You know, because someone hasn't read even one book. You know, we are October. Actually, we are almost November now. You know, the year has come to an end. A person has not even read one page when you are in the 70th book. So people will get hold of you and you will just share more on what you are doing. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of our show. Thank you so much. We will meet next time on the same place. Share online. Thank you.